I have some points to make about Portgas D Ace, so buckle up. Marineford has always been very gut wrenching to me because it shows just how much a person's childhood environment can shape their identity as an adult. First, let's go over Ace's childhood trauma. From the moment he was born, Ace was surrounded by a world that resented his existence. In the flashbacks, it can be seen how everyone around him hated his father and was cursing at Roger's unknown son. And even though Ace was beating these people up as revenge, his innocent mind absorbed these putrid words and it became a part of who he thought he was. This is so clearly seen from his conversation with Garp. Now, on top of it, his mother's death took a very obvious toll on him too, because Rouge died trying to protect Ace and keeping him in the womb for a longer period of time. Even this became a heavy burden on Ace's conscience. And I feel like Ace never hated Roger because he never even met the dude. So Roger should have been just a stranger to him. So he never hated Roger as an individual or who Roger was. Instead, he hated what Roger represented in his life. People despised Roger so much that they extended that hatred to Ace, making him feel like his father's sins were his to carry. And at its core, Ace's hatred wasn't about Roger himself, but about the suffering he endured because of him. Now, Ace's trauma becomes even more apparent when we contrast him with Luffy. Both brothers are strong willed, but their sense of self was built differently. Luffy only learned about his father after his identity was already formed. So, when Akainu was like, Dragon's son deserves to die, Luffy was like, girl, what's my dad's criminal record got to do with me? Again, in Dressrosa, when Don Chinzhao was about to take his revenge on Luffy for Garp's deeds, he was like, what are you talking about? Grandpa and I are two different people. Period. So when people tried to use his lineage against him, it never worked for Luffy. Unlike Ace, who grew up hearing how his father was evil and that he shouldn't have been born. My next point is about Ace's adulthood and his blinding devotion. Into his adulthood, his trauma expressed itself as extreme loyalty and devotion for Whitebeard. Now, you could say that it was some pirate loyalty crap, but it was more than that. Ace's devotion wasn't like, say, Zoro sacrificing his life for Luffy in Thriller Bark. Ace's devotion was messing with his judgment and his priorities. He was making bad decision after bad decision, not because of pirate honor, but because he was overcompensating. People like him who believe they don't deserve the love and affection given to them, they keep trying to bend over backwards and overcompensate even at their own expense. And that's exactly what led to Marineford in the first place. Ace was in that situation because he went after Teach alone, even though everyone knew and told him it was a risky idea. Again, when he was freed from the execution altar, instead of prioritizing survival, he wasted time arguing with Akainu because his emotions over Whitebeard's honor outweighed his survival instincts. And anyone with a brain could tell that all these decisions Ace was making were wrong. And I'm sure he did too because he's a smart boy. He survived out there in the sea with his own crew, and then he served as the 2nd Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. You don't achieve these things by being stupid. But Ace's emotions had clouded his judgment to the point that it eventually led to his unfortunate demise. Ace's appearance in Marineford was short, but it showed just how traumatized he was underneath the carefree smile. Ace's self-perception was so broken that even at the execution altar, he couldn't believe that people were risking their lives to save him. Every time someone fought for him, he was visibly shocked. And he even asks his crew as to why did they show up when he got caught because of his own mistake. Dude, as if making a mistake justifies you dying for it. I understand that he didn't want to risk his crew's lives, but it also meant that he did not believe that he was worth fighting for. And finally, remember his conversation with God that I mentioned? Yes, he gets the answer at the very last moment of his life as he bleeds out in his brother's arms. So, yes, his childhood trauma had actually haunted and followed him all his life. Ace's tragedy serves as a powerful reminder that children are deeply affected by the world around them. Marineford wasn't just a battle, it was the culmination of Ace's inner turmoil. And in the end, the child who only wanted to know if he deserved to exist finally found his answer and gave Luffy and all of us irreparable trauma in the process. Anyway, bye.